Hello, and welcome to Studio 8K at the Hardy and Nance Studios in downtown Houston. My name is Stäcy Smith, and the work you are standing in front of is called Momento Viveri, or in English, Remember to Live. Before I dive into the meaning and significance of this work, I wanted to let you know that prints of this work are available inside of the Studio 8K space. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Art by Stäcy Houston. Let's get started. Momento Viveri is the centerpiece of a much larger, interactive installation. I call it the Portal series because it's based on a series of dreams that I had during the last year of graduate school at the Houston Baptist University. In my dream, I started out as a small child, tiptoeing through a grassy landscape at night, and I came upon a pond full of stars. They weren't reflections from the sky. The pond actually held the stars within the liquid. I cupped my hands and drank from it, and when I turned away from the pond, I saw a round platform with 15 portals floating in a circle. Each of the portals started off as a reflection of myself, but then I morphed into other sexes, other ages, and into other people. The only thing that remained consistent was that in each one I had red hair, blue eyes, and I was pregnant. Here you can see my initial sketch of the installation along with a model of what I plan for the platform, which I hope to have finished by the end of 2025. The depressions in the model are where all of the little witnesses will go. These are ceramic eggs with eyes and other body parts. They judge the viewer as the viewer judges the artwork. Many of these are on display inside of Studio 8K. I plan to have around 3,000 of them by the time I'm finished. Oh, I also mentioned that this is an interactive installation. Momento Viveri is the only painting in this series that does not open up. The rest of the paintings have hinged works, but I'm currently working out the mechanics of making that work via robotics, because it isn't a good idea to touch an oil painting. There are trace amounts of lead in the paint, and the oil in your skin can actually damage the surface. In August 2014, I had a heart attack. I now have a stent in my chest, which is the only piece of platinum that I own. Momento Viveri is about me working through the issues that came before and after the attack, as I slowly started to repair my physical and mental health. Most people see the arched frame as a church window, and when all of the works are lined up together, the cathedral effect is hard to miss. But in this painting, the arched frame is my version of a Viking funerary boat, a salute to my father's Nordic roots. I float above the boat, hovering in front of an evening seascape that echoes the floating squares, a symbol of compartmentalization. These squares support me as well as embrace me. My head is veiled, which, as you become familiar with my work, you'll learn that when I make a painting of myself based on a dream, I typically obscure my face in some way. The stars above me are the Pleiades. These stars are significant in that they were all born around the same time. They also feature in many different mythologies. I'm a big fan of the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the world around us. They show just how human we really are. Repetition, juxtaposition, and distortion all feature heavily in work that is surrealist, or work based on dreams. I'm one of the few women in my family who's like a Greyjoy. I don't sew. Yet here I am sewing my heart back together on the outside of my chest. Every time I dream of my soul being exposed, it's always glowing in teal. The color teal features in another dream painting, Heartstrings. You might see it inside of Studio 8K. It's the dream I had the night before my youngest daughter was born. Pregnancy is a reoccurring theme in my work. I was lucky enough that I grew up in a time period where gender roles were becoming more fluid. I've never really thought of myself as feminine until I became pregnant. And it wasn't that I felt girly, more like I understood what my body was built to do. It was like carrying around a great secret, one which caused me to experience a protective pride as well as a terror at responsibility all at the same time. Some people see the tree of life inside my swelling belly, and I'm all for open interpretation. But what I painted here are twin fawns that represent two babies in our family that we lost. Polysemous sounds like a Greek god, but it's a type of word that has multiple meanings. In this painting, the word is notion. A sewing notion is a small tool or piece of equipment like a needle, button, snap, or bobbin. And then you have the traditional meaning of notion, which is a person's conception of an experience, whether known or imagined. Each of the notions painted represents either a person or a specific incident. The blue seam ripper is my mother, not because she was mean, but because I grew up watching her make things. And when the seam wasn't right, she'd pick it out and start all over again. I definitely got a large dose of my stubborn perfectionism in my craft from her. The gold crane scissors are my Grandma Cindy. She kept them inside a table drawer in her living room, and I always saw her using them when she did embroidery. The green beetle represents a jewelry artist here in Houston named Jeannie Hayner, because the shininess of the insect shell reminds me of the decor glass earrings she made for me. The cocoon is another fellow painter, Sue Donaldson. Both she and Jeannie have been among my dearest friends since I started the Houston art scene back in the early 2000s. I won't go into every single object, but you get the picture. I know I had mentioned before that surrealist painters use repetition, juxtaposition, and morphing frequently in their work. The skirt transforming into animals didn't come to me in my dreams, but on the spot as I was actually painting it. In my bio, I joke that I'm the keeper of judgmental goldfish. This goes back to a painting that had hundreds of goldfish in it. So many, in fact, that I refused to count them. And I swore off painting any fish for a year after completing it. Birds are a natural opposite, and cardinals were the favorite animal of my great-grandmother Margaret. She grew up during the Depression, and I will never forget the amount of magnets, yardsticks, and pencils she had. I'm definitely a more is more painter. I love visual excess. Notice my leg bones showing through the fish. That's another element you'll notice in other works of mine. There's always some truth to be revealed under all the layers we carry with us. You'll recognize one of the Latin phrases, on my feet, but the other one translates into, we are all made of star stuff. And the constellation above it is that of Capricorn, which, yes, is my star sign. But the story of Capricorn is far more interesting to me than whatever self-fulfilling prophecies can be found daily on the web. The moral of the Capricorn is about learning that no matter what we do, we cannot control the choices our children make. And as a parent, this is a hard lesson to be learned. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the story behind this painting. I hope you'll come back and see the progress I am making on the rest of the series. The Hardy and Ant Studios hosts a third Saturday event and opens studios each month from 5 to 9 p.m. And you can usually find me or one of my studio mates working in Studio 8K. For more information about this painting or my process, feel free to check me out on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Art by Stäcy Houston. You can also email me at artbystacyhouston@gmail.com.